Hello, welcome to the Daily Devotion. I'm Kathy Morris, pastor of the Dixon United Methodist Church. The book of the prophet Zechariah addresses the return of Israel from exile. There were many stages of the return. Some were easier, others were more difficult. But what is clear is that the eventual outcome would be joy. In our Bible reading for today, Zechariah delivers God's promise to restore Israel. Zechariah assures Israel that their restoration will be characterized by joy. I will be reading from Zechariah chapter 10, verses 6 and 7, and I am reading from the New Revised Standard Version. I will strengthen the house of Judah, and I will save the house of Joseph. I will bring them back, because I have compassion on them. And they shall be as though I had not rejected them. For I am the Lord their God, and I will answer them. Then the people of Ephraim shall become like warriors, and their hearts glad with wine. Their children shall see it and rejoice. Their hearts shall exult in the Lord. Strengthened with God's salvation, compassion, hearts made glad with wine, children rejoicing, exulting in God. I was sitting and listening to the news this last week, and there was a report on the mental health of adults during this pandemic. A significant percentage of people were reporting that they simply were not finding joy or enjoyment in their daily lives. Things are not necessarily bad, but just not joyful. Joy is one of the fruit of the Spirit. Jesus came that our joy may be full. The writer Madeleine L'Engle says that she finds joy just in knowing that her life matters to God. Joy and faith are meant to be intertwined with one another throughout our lives. The Christians of the early centuries of the church who lived in the British Isles and Brittany have come to be known as the Celtic Christians. And there has been a renewed interest in their spiritual practices and their faith perspectives. Celtic Christians looked for God's presence in the daily routines of work and ordinary chores. They also incorporated joy in God's creation into their prayers. Here is a Gaelic prayer that comes from the 6th century. Shone to him the earth and sphere together. God the Lord has opened a door. Son of Mary Virgin, hasten thou to help me. Thou Christ of hope, thou door of joy. Golden Son of hill and mountain, all hail, let there be joy. Let there be joy. Christ is the door of joy. But how are we to experience joy when one day is much the same as another? Well, the Celtic Christians remind us that we can always find joy in God's creation. Early on in the pandemic, I had shared with you that my husband Peter and I, we go out in the evenings on walks, and with the help of an app, we've been learning the constellations of the sky. Of course, at first it was the winter and spring constellations, but now we are learning the summer constellations. We're getting beyond simply recognizing the Big Dipper or Ursa Major, and now we can pick out Scorpio, Cygnus the Swan. We have identified the planets, Jupiter and Saturn. We're working on Cassiopeia. Each evening, as we are out and looking at the stars, we do indeed experience joy in God's creation. This joy was quite a bit this last time that we were out, because we were able to see the comet that is visible even to the naked eye. So if you haven't been out to see it, I hope you will. For your prayer time today, find some part of God's creation and allow yourself to rejoice.